Hi, everyone. This is Rich Berliner from Charged Up, and I'm here today with Todd Schlekeway from NATE, National Association of Tower Erectors. And Todd, I always make sure I pronounce your last name absolutely correctly. I hope that was. But thank you for being here with me today. And what I wanted to try and get to the core of the matter, if you will, with this podcast was how you got to the enlightened position of, as the National Association of Tower Erectors, that you were the first one that I know of that began to introduce your membership to the thoughts of other types of near neighbor businesses, one of which being near and dear to our heart, the EV charging business. So tell us a little bit about that thought process and what your sense of what's the future of doing those things again. And again, thank you for being with me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to join you, Rich. I know we go way back in the industry, and I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you on the podcast here. Uh, well, if you look, Nate was founded 30 years ago, Rich. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this month, actually, and so we have a proud tradition, proud history, and our roots are in wireless and broadcast. But the one thing I've learned in the 13 years I've been in this job is nothing stays static. This industry evolves, technology evolves, and as we've seen more and more consolidation of the big wireless carriers, the last 5-6 years, a lot of our contractors who service wireless, we saw this coming a long time ago. There's less customers. The pendulum has kind of swung more in the big three carriers' favor. And so we have been preaching, and we've been more vocal about it, Rich, the last, I'd say 3-4 years on customer diversification. It's really important. When 75% of our membership are contractor companies who do communications infrastructure deployments, that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And so you need to have a diverse customer base. And so that, along with some of the work we've done in the workforce development sector, made us realize that, there's a lot of opportunity and commonalities in the EV infrastructure deployment space. And, a lot of the civil and electrical skills that these technicians and companies are equipped to do translate nicely to the EV infrastructure deployment sector that you're working in. And so we're very bullish on it, Rich. In 2023, at our annual NATE Unite 2023 conference in Memphis, Tennessee, we actually had a big customer diversification workshop pavilion. And a big part of that was a big symposium on the EV sector. And that room was full. And that's all I needed to see, that our members were interested in pursuing this. And, fast forward now, over a year later from when we hosted that, and I hear more and more anecdotal stories, and I get emails and calls that more and more of our members are getting into this space, Rich, and that makes me feel good. We're very bullish on it, and really, it's something that I'm excited about moving forward.
And so, as I mentioned to you before, you were one of the first people to pick up on this. It's a near neighbor business. And what my friends in the business are telling me, hey, it's a tower site without the tower. So we don't have all the climbing and rigging and belts and all that to worry about. And the opportunity is there, and it's being done in a much bigger way than wireless. I mean, we've been going at wireless for what, 40, 45 years now. At the end of the day, a good portion of it has been built, and there's modifications and things to be added. But, that is a mature business at this stage. EV is, and I said this at a conference recently, EV is what I remember the business to be 30, 35 years ago in wireless. There was no rules, there was no advertising, there was no consensus of what should happen. There were a million companies, they were all going at it in different ways. And so that created opportunities. And that's what's happening now in the EV space with lots and lots of manufacturers, software people, and everybody is now trying to, get ahead of the other people. And so that's why, I chose to step aside from the connected real estate that we were doing. And now we're doing Charged Up, which is
Yep.
really bringing information about this topic to people in the industry. And we're not sort of the, hey, look at this company, it's great, you should do. We're bringing stories and information about it. And if there are companies that are mentioned in there, so be it. But at the end of the day, it's important. I think people get honest reporting about what's happening in the business. So, as I said, you were very enlightened to look at this, but what's your sense of how this business unfolds? If I think we're right, you think I'm right, that 75 or 80%, maybe it's 100% of your members are looking over the cubicle to the next near neighbor business. What's next in that setting for you and the organization to bring forward to the members?
Yeah, great question, Rich. And what I would say is it's going to be incumbent upon Nate and some of our subject matter expertise that we have both on our staff and through our committees, to come up with maybe more resources, whether it be safety resources specifically geared towards the EV charging, access to some specific training, getting our members in front of customers. Those are all things that, as these sectors that touch wireless take off, and we continue to hear more members working in that space, we have to be proactive in getting out in front, and that's why I think there's opportunities to partner with different organizations out there. We talked about offline. I mean, some of our biggest members, the Moztecs of the world, are in this space, and so we have to be a conduit at a bare minimum, Rich, to our members to get them the resources they need to get started in the space. And that's safety standard or safety resources, that's best practices, that's who are the trainers. And as I referenced earlier, a lot of these skills do translate. So I think that it's a very exciting space. And one interesting thing, we had a small cell and DAS deployment committee within Nate that they just changed their name at their meeting in February in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they're now the Integrated Infrastructure Services Committee. And one of the reasons they changed their name is they want to now branch out and be involved in more sectors in building, and they thought it was a better umbrella name that they could start taking us down these different pathways, one being EV charging.
Yeah, well, I volunteer to help with that. If I
Okay.
can be of any assistance, I would love to. And I think that that's the important thing, is trying to get the information that your members need. Because, and I'll reference this in a very simplistic way. One of the things they know is how to take a set of plans and build this. It's second nature. That's what your members do, and they're all really good at it. But they don't necessarily understand what goes with what. What can charge what? How does this work with this? What are the necessary voltage and amperages, and what are the utility commitments that need to be made? And all of those things are sort of the new piece that they need to learn. And so I think that that's where we can be of help in getting them not just to be able to do the back end piece, but also to be able to do the front end now and work with more of an understanding of the equipment that's available, of what software is available, what works with what, how it works, how do you design it, and then from there, what it costs, and how do you put a bid together, and all of those things. So I think that's the real crux of what the members need to know, and how I think I can help you in terms of bringing that information to them.
Yeah, Nate has a lot of different platforms that we can get, resources and information out to our members. We have our Tower Times magazine, which is available digitally and in print. We're one of the few trade associations who still prints our magazine, and we kind of like that, Rich, because it's our best marketing piece. But we have a webinar series. We have regional events where we can host some of these forums. We do a lot of work with the state wireless associations, and just last last April, I was at Wireless West in Denver, a big regional conference, and I was on a panel about EV charging. So, you're starting to see more of this content pop up at these wireless telecom events where you and I are on the same circuit. We go to a lot of these events together, Rich, and that was unheard of up until a couple of years ago. You never saw EV content at a wireless or broadband event. And but it's this convergence, and it's being driven by commonalities and skill sets, an interest to diversify your customer base and grow your business. And Nate wants to see a sustainable, healthy contractor community in the United States. And this is a direction that a lot of our members have told us they want to go in.
Yeah. And look, I think you're on track with that. We've said that already, but at the end of the day, you and I talked again offline about the wireless industry and the state of what's happening, the take it or leave it pricing thing. Thank goodness that's not come to EV charging, because there is a great deal of play in what people offer. So it's not always apples to apples. There are lots and lots of variations to what can be offered and how it can be done. But again, in the way in our business, if you remember, the development of the tower owners, the American Towers and the Crowns and the SBAs and those folks, it developed into a whole business of owning these things without being the one that's actually, using the physical tower. So, that is coming and has kind of developed in the EV industry too. And so that's an aspect of this that members need to know. So just to do a little shameless self-promotion, with the WIA at the event in Chicago that they're having, we are doing 3 panels and a luncheon on Wednesday, the 14th of May. And so I think there are a lot of members, obviously, that overlap between WIA and NATE. Not everyone that's a NATE member, not everyone who is a WIA member is a NATE member, because they have other skills they do besides installing towers and equipment. But we're taking that now to the other associations. We definitely want to work with you in the future as this goes on, but it's nice to see that other associations are following your lead, if you will, and taking this up. And I think it's important, and we're going to try to do the best 3 panels we can, how to get into the business, what you need to know, and then, what incentives and the financing aspects there are on there. So I encourage everybody who watches this or who's, out there in wireless land, to come to the show and check out our panels at the the WIA show in Chicago in May. But Todd, I want to thank you again. If there's anything else you want to add to what we've discussed, I'm happy to listen. But I think you've been terrific, and you are the guy that has led the way in terms of helping these folks think about EV charging in this space. So anything you want to add?
No, just appreciate the opportunity to join you, Rich. And I would just, if anyone in the EV community has any questions about Nate and our members, we're always looking to get our contractor members in front of new prospective customers. And so we have access to contractor lists by state, by region. And, we want to give more business opportunities to our customers. So that would be what I would leave you with. Nate has members in 49 of the 50 US states. So we're truly a national organization, and we even have a statement of international members. So just know that you'll continue to see hopefully some resources and a focus on this sector emanate from Nate moving forward.
Well, you do it, and you do it well, Todd. Thank you so much for chatting today. This is Rich Berliner from Charged Up. I'm very happy to be talking to Todd Schlekeway from NATE, National Association of Tower Erectors. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the future at the shows that we're going to. May 14th in Chicago would be one. And again, we'll talk everyone very soon. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.